The Kobe disrespect is going way too far.
I played Kobe, bro. He wasn't guarding like that.
This number 11 in Bleacher Report's top 100 has me so triggered, we're gonna send it. First and foremost, Steph over Kobe Bryant makes absolutely no sense. I love Steph Curry. He's my favorite player in the NBA right now. But it feels like we're completely forgetting about half the basketball. Steph is amazing on offense, yes, but Steph Curry has known to be a liability on defense. A liability, meaning you subtract from your team when you're out there. Kobe Bryant is considered to be one of the greatest basketball players of all time, probably the greatest shooting guard defender ever. He has the most rebounds as a shooting guard. He's number 4 in blocks. He's number 3 in steals. And now we can talk about their offense. Yeah, Steph Curry's the greatest three-point shooter of all time. That's great. But Kobe is known for having the deepest bag ever, the greatest 1v1 player. Every defender, especially every great defender from Matt Barnes to Bruce Bowen, they all agree that Kobe Bryant was the greatest offensive player that ever played against because he could just do anything. And then there's the fact that he only has 4 championships, 1 less than Kobe's 5, and 2 of those championships came with the greatest team of all time with Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. So you're going to use the Shaq argument against Kobe, but not against Steph Curry with him having Kevin Durant in that team? Are you joking me, bro? And now we can talk about Shaq. Shaq above Kobe, really? Shaq, a guy with 1 less championship than Kobe, who he won 3 of his 4 with Kobe. Shaq never won anything without Kobe Bryant and would have never won anything with Dwayne Wade if he hadn't learned how to win with Kobe Bryant. When Kobe and Shaq had their interview, they both agreed that it was all Shaq's fault. Shaq was absolutely lazy, he was rude, he was entitled, out of shape, and he was pooping in people's shoes. I mean, what do you even say to that? But talking strictly ball, no poop talk, Shaq doesn't win any of those titles, doesn't get to the finals those 3 years they had the three-peat without Kobe carrying, yes, I said carrying through the Western Conference. Look at the screen right now. These are Kobe's stats against the Western Conference. The Western Conference being some of the greatest basketball teams ever put together, assembled during this time span. Kobe dominated them. He carried them in the fourth quarters especially, got them to the finals where they played these joke of a teams from the East who none of them had any player that could do anything against Shaq. So they knew the obvious play was to just give the ball to Shaq. But you couldn't do that in the Western Conference because teams were too good. And that's why you had to go through Kobe. Drink your water. Do you understand? They've talked about in many interviews that they agreed that Shaq would carry through the first 3 quarters and Kobe would come in the fourth and close out. All points aren't created equal. Do you understand that in the fourth quarter, when everyone's tired, fatigued, but they're also putting forth the most amount of energy, all those points scored in the fourth quarter are so much more valuable than the rest of the game. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. Show the picture of the team that Kobe won a championship with and then repeated with. You want to talk about his lower numbers? Look at the era he played in. They were scoring 20 to 25 points a game less than they are now. Some of the greatest defensive teams existed back in those days. Those Pistons teams, the Celtics, bro, those Spurs and Kings, they're all-time amazing squads. The crazy good defensive era Kobe played in was because Michael Jordan's era and what he came into was so ridiculously out of control on offense, they had to get it under control because people were losing interest. Look at those average points per game in the 80s into the 90s. It's ridiculous. And then look what LeBron has played in the 2010s. There are actual levels to these eras. I know they weren't just plumbers back then. JJ Redick's not the most intelligent person for saying that. Oh man, the Shaq Kobe argument's so ridiculous because then it brings you into the Kareem Magic up there in 3 and 4, 4 and 5, whatever. Are you joking me? So you're telling me Magic and Kareem had each other for essentially all their championships. Magic had Kareem for all his 5. Kareem got 1 without Magic. But you're telling me that they had each other for all their championships and they're agreed upon as being top 5 ever, but it doesn't negate from each of their greatnesses when they also had one of the greatest teams around them. AC Green, James Worthy, Duncan ahead of Kobe, the person that Kobe was 4-2 against in the playoffs. Duncan, the player who got to play for the greatest coach of all time for his entire career. Duncan, who for 18 of his 20 years had essentially a playoff team and a chance to win a title. Kobe maybe had 12 of his 20 years with teams like that. Duncan, who played with Ginobili, Parker, Kawhi Leonard, David Robinson. But yeah, let's hold it against Kobe for playing with Shaq. It's the same thing with Larry Bird. How is Larry Bird above Kobe Bryant with 3 championships only when he played with arguably the greatest teams of all time? So you're telling me all these players from Steph to Bird to Magic to Kareem, Duncan, all these players ahead of him all play with some of the greatest teams of all time, and yet no, Kobe played with Shaq. What? Kobe Bryant was scoring 35 points a game in a time when the NBA was averaging 20 points less than it is now. Do you guys realize Kobe's 81-point game, when you change it for inflation with Wilt's game, he actually has 117 points. Kobe's 81-point game is so ridiculous. Not only is scoring 81 bonkers as it is, but he did this in 2006 when the average was 97 points per game. The average in 2024 was 114 points. Then there's the difficulties of each of his championships where Kobe is called a sidekick to Shaq. And it's all based on the specific results of the finals, but that completely undermines just how insane the Western Conference was back then. Look at this. This is the toughest playoff paths for NBA teams who won a championship. And look how many times Kobe Bryant's Lakers are on here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of Kobe's 5 championships were on this list. And let's look at the rest. Michael has 1 on here. He has 2 on here. LeBron has 1 on here. Steph has 1 on here. Kawhi has 2 on here. Do you see the teams the Lakers beat? The Blazers, the Kings, the Spurs, the 76ers. That was still AI Mutombo. Blazers, Spurs, Kings, the Nets. That was Kidd, Kenyon Martin. They had no one that could even, be close to coming up against Shaq, but it was the quality of the coaching in the West that could help them compete against players like Shaq. Because again, you have brute force, you have speed, and then you have intelligence. And that's usually where coaching comes in. Lakers in 99-2000, Kings, Suns, Blazers, Pacers. That's Reggie Miller. You know that game 7 that the whole dynasty pretty much spurred from? The game 7 in 2000 against the freaking Blazers? That was Kobe. He had a majority of the points, the assists. He led that comeback. 2009-2010, they beat the OKC Thunder with Westbrook, and they had Kevin Durant. They beat the Jazz, the Suns with Nash and Amari when Kobe Bryant was nailing those stupid, insane long twos right in Alvin Gentry's face and he tapped him on the butt. We remember that. And then, of course, the Celtic game 7 where he had 20 rebounds, where it was just everyone was missing. They were down 10, 12 points in the fourth quarter. Are you joking me? I hate to talk like this, but as you get older, you start to recognize a lot of parts in life where you thought were just innocent and honest are actually just run by money. And you just might be recognizing that the LeBron and Jordan brand are just so massive that the reason why they're considered a GOAT is maybe more financial than it is honest. You're telling me that Michael Jordan is so far ahead of everybody else. He's so amazing ahead of the pack. And Kobe Bryant is just like him, right behind him, carbon copy. But he's not even top 10 with all those accolades. Are you serious? Almost every one of my channel's viewers is not subscribed to the channel. Do me a huge favor and hit that subscription button. We're trying to get monetized. My dog and I. And if you know, MVP ballots, MVP casting, it's so prejudiced, it's so biased because it's journalists, people voting on narratives they want. Imagine if you could vote for something that would then increase your paycheck, right? Because if you have a more appealing narrative, then that's what you vote for so you can write on it. That's why having journalists vote on the MVP is kind of not always, let's say, honest. I hope on this rant you've noticed there's a lot of hypocrisies when it comes to labeling and understanding Kobe Bryant. If he's held to the same standards that all the other players are, outside of, he doesn't have the finals MVPs because we talked about it. Shaq has those finals MVPs, but the reality is the real finals in the NBA back then were in the Western Conference. Everyone knew that if you won the Western Conference, you were going to win against the East because they were cheese. The Shaq argument against Kobe just has to stop. You can't have Magic and Kareem both in the top 5 who had each other for all their championships and then hold it against Kobe. It's hypocritical. It makes no sense. It shows a clear bias against Kobe Bryant. Okay. I think I'm done. Holy moly. That was a lot of recording. Like I said, whoever your GOAT is, that's awesome. LeBron, Jordan, Kareem, Magic, Bird, whoever your GOAT is, I love it. And I do appreciate these conversations and I love the discourse. But Kobe outside the top 10, outside the top 5, when NBA players usually all agree he's top 3, top 2, many have him as GOAT, it's gaslighting at the utmost levels. Honestly, sometimes I don't say this a lot, but Kareem might actually be the GOAT because he won like Jordan and he played as long as LeBron and he was as revered as Kobe in LA. So this just doesn't make any sense. I feel like there's a certain level of trolling that comes now and they know Kobe Bryant's base is so emotional, especially with his death. And so maybe they did this just to, make Steph fans and Kobe fans clash because it's just ridiculous. All right, that's enough yapping for today. You know the deal. I appreciate you. Hit that subscription button. Go out there and do something great. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant.